Let me start by telling you about two very familiar types of students. You'll probably recognize yourself somewhere in this story. This is Alex, the kind of student who makes everyone wonder, how does he do that? He studies less than 40 minutes a day, sleeps 8 solid hours every night, hangs out with friends on the weekends, and somehow still lands consistently in the top 5% of his class. And then there's Emily. Emily studies more than 4 hours every day, cuts down her sleep, rarely goes out, and constantly feels behind. She fills notebook after notebook with colorful notes, spends hours rereading the textbook, and highlights every line like she's painting a rainbow. But when exam day comes, everything slips right out of her memory. So, what separates Alex from Emily? It isn't intelligence, the IT isn't effort, and it definitely isn't luck. The real difference is how they learn. Now pause for a moment. If you had to rate your own study method on a scale from 1 to 10, what number would you give yourself? Hold on to that number. By the end of this video, I'm pretty sure you'll want to change it. Let me take you back to one night I'll never forget, a night during my junior year of high school. My desk was a battlefield. Empty soda cans, half-finished coffee cups, textbooks stacked everywhere, and pages covered in neon highlighters. I had been studying for almost 12 hours straight, and when I finally checked the clock, it was 3 a.m. And honestly, at that moment, I genuinely believed I was doing everything right, that I highlighted every important sentence, that I rewrote the entire chapter, I reread the textbook so many times the pages were starting to wear out. But deep down, I knew something fell off, that I was putting in effort, tons of it, yet nothing seemed to stick, and just as I feared, I completely bombed that biology exam. That failure shook me awake, that IT forced me to accept a truth I had been avoiding. I had no idea how to study effectively, that I didn't need more time, that I didn't need more coffee, that I needed a better method. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You highlight entire pages until they look like art projects. You rewrite notes until your hand hurts. You reread the same paragraph 5 or 6 times, but still can't explain it without looking. Or maybe you save dozens of study tips, videos on TikTok, and never watch them again. That if you've done any of those things, you've fallen into the trap called the productivity illusion, that it's the feeling of working hard without actually learning anything. Most students fall for it because they believe one simple but dangerous myth: the longer I sit at my desk, the better I'll learn. But science shows that's completely false. Just because you spend hours in front of your books doesn't mean your brain is absorbing any of it. Here's some signs you're stuck in the productivity illusion. You spend more time making your notes pretty than actually understanding them. You read passively without testing yourself. You feel exhausted after studying, but you can't recall what you learned. You confuse busyness with progress. Schools never teach us how to study. Teachers tell us to finish the chapter or study for 2 more hours, but no one tells us how to actually make the material stick. That's why so many students work harder but get nowhere. After experimenting for a long time, I discovered a simple formula that completely changed how I learn. Learning effectiveness equals study time times memory retention rate. Here's what this means. If you study 5 hours but only remember 10%, the effective learning time is basically 30 minutes. But if you study 1 hour and retain 50%, you've effectively learned for 30 minutes, which means you studied 5 times more efficiently. So instead of trying to increase the number of hours you study, the real key is to increase the percentage you remember. Studying for a long time doesn't make you smarter. It just makes you tired. Your brain isn't a photocopier. Information doesn't stick just because you stare at it long enough. That IT sinks in when you interact with it. Before I changed my approach, I used to study like a zombie. I read, highlighted, and copied my notes over and over, but it was all passive. My brain wasn't doing anything except looking. Active learning changed everything. Instead of rereading, I started doing practice problems, testing myself after each section, explaining concepts out loud, teaching my friends, writing down what I remembered before checking the book. Suddenly, my retention jumped from about 10% to almost 70%. And the best part, I was studying less, not more. My grades went from C's and B minuses to solid A's. Not because I became smarter, but because I learned smarter. Active. Learning forces your brain to think, not just see. It's like fixing the holes in a bucket before pouring in more water. Only then can it actually hold something that here's the exact strategy one used. Simple, realistic, and extremely effective. Point one. Short sessions, high focus stops studying for 3 or 4 hours straight. Study in focused blocks of 30 to 60 minutes. Then take a 5 to 10-minute break. Your brain absorbs more when it's rested. Point two. Test before you study. Before opening the book, ask yourself, what do I already know? What don't I understand yet? This helps you target weak points instead of wasting time on things you already remember. Point three. Teach the material. Explain the concept out loud, as if you're teaching someone younger. That if you can teach it simply, you truly understand it. That if you can't, that's where you need to review. That, partner. Explain it to a mirror, your wall, your stuffed animal. Anything works. Point four. Practice more than you read. Do practice problems. Use flashcards. Answer questions without looking. Apply the idea to real-life examples. This is 10 times more effective than rereading a chapter. Point five. Connect new ideas to things you already know. Your memory works like a web. The more connections you create, the easier it sticks. Point six. Quick review before bedtime. Spend 5 to 10 minutes reviewing key ideas before you sleep. Sleep strengthens memory. You'll remember much better in the morning. Do these consistently for a week, and you will feel the difference. Now think back to the number you gave your study method at the start of this video. Still feel like it deserves that score? If not, congratulations. You're ready to level up. Studying smarter isn't about adding more hours. It's about learning in a way your brain was actually designed to learn. Thank you for watching. Try these techniques and let me know how they work for you. See you in the next video.